In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Rock and roll.
Why, let's do it. Hello, everybody. Hi, and welcome to another rousing, titillating episode of another pointless automotive podcast. My name is Frank, coming together with...
Chadwick, as always.
Exactly. I feel like we need the stereotypical podcast music that's behind like true crime podcasts that are on NPR with the NPR morning voice. And that's becomes our new milk toast entry. You know what's not a milk toast entry into the world of automotive journalism, you tried to say?
I have an idea, but why don't you let our viewers know?
Ooh, you do you? There's this thing that we've covered, at least in part, in the past, the car and driver 10 best lists. That they started doing in 1983. We went through about a half decade's worth of that in our past. We did 83 to 87, and we decided, or I should say you decided, and I went along with it because I have nothing better to bring to the table, that this would be another good podcast episode fodder to pick up where we left off. Start back in 1988. My younger brother was born in 88. What else was 88? I believe the Washington Indigenous Peoples of America football team won the Super Bowl.
They were still acceptably called the Redskins back then.
Right. And I choose to think that they were named after the potato variety.
Real quick,
would be great.
Before we break down the list, guys, This is 88 through 92, which is like my sweet spot, dude. I love late 80s and I love early 90s stuff. That's my favorite, dude.
It's hard to argue. Like a lot of our favorite manufacturers were just really hitting on all cylinders, pun intended, in that era. And so why don't we do this? I just spent a lot of time talking, which is probably what most people do not want in their life. Do you want us just take a look at this list from the Car and Driver Test 10 best list for 1988, which is where we're going to kick off, and just what are we looking at? What's on this list?
Sure thing. We're going to set a pretty good pace. We got 5 years to get through. So 1988 up first. Guys, I'm going to go through the list real quick and then we'll break out some of our favorite parts of it. Top 10 list, 1988, Car and Driver. Acura Legend making the list. The coupe, if you will. Acura Integra. Audi 5000. Chevy Corvette. Ford Mustang. Ford Taurus. Honda CRX. Honda Civic. Honda Accord. And Saab 9000.
Can we just... We'll break off and talk about the cars individually here with some brevity, because as you said, we've got a half decade to soldier through. Just based on the list, and that 50% of it was Honda Motor Corporation. Can we raise a glass, or in my case, a mostly empty Java glass bottle?
Of course, banquet to that.
That's right. To Honda. That's got to be. I mean, Honda's had many a high watermark in its day, but is it heresy to say that that's the high watermark for Honda, considering that predates both the NSX and the S2000?
Yeah,
and
I
VTEC
would say
in general.
Yeah, in general, but dude, 88, 5 Honda products. Some of my favorites, Integra and CRX on that out of that 5. Fantastic.
Yeah, that first gen Integra is something special. Like they don't. Every generation is a good car, and I think there's a fair argument to say that third generation is probably the best Integra that we got. Apologies to the current one, but for whatever reason, that first gen was just like a moment in time where it really feels of the era. It was sprightly. It didn't have a ton of power, but it was fun to drive and revvy and just everything that Honda was in its day.
Dude, the Legend Coupe. I mean, is there a bad Honda product on this list you wouldn't mind owning? Because I'm good with all 5 of those, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Civic, CRX, Accord. They all were different. They all kind of did different things, right? I mean, there's some crossover between the Civic and the Integra, but the Integra is a much more substantial car.
Sure.
I think.
Well, you could be talking Civic Hatch too, which makes it a completely different animal, right?
Civic Hatch. all real-time all-wheel drive wagon.
Dude, Honda, let's go.
Yeah, and well, I guess at that time it wasn't the real-time all-wheel drive, but irregardless or regardless,
Wagony.
whichever one you choose, wagony. Corvette's still in the mix, right? So
Absolutely.
88, we're slowly gaining power. I think we're still a year away from a 6-speed. I think they got that in 89, but still doing great. And then the Saab 9000 Turbo, which was on the list, which I believe was on the list the year prior. But yeah, what a cool moment in time for Honda. And yeah, we think as I mentioned, we think Honda is everything VTEC, which they are, but they are not a one-trick pony. I mean, their commitment to exciting, worthwhile, valuable, well put together, incredibly well engineered cars. It's like goes back a long time.
And you're right. This is an important time for these Japanese cars because we're coming out of like the malaise era. We have the Japanese economy boxes, aren't cheap shit boxes. At this time, they've kind of established themselves. And like I said, every one of those cars is a great car that has a huge legacy tied to it, you know?
Yeah. And it's also before, a lot of times like today, we think about the hallmark Japanese Godzilla cars, right? And it's Mark IV Supra, it's Z32, 300ZX, it's FDRX7,
NSX.
it's 3000 GT, it's NSX, it's all of these 90s cars when the genuine foundation was laid for them during this era in this time period. All of those juggernauts were being designed while these cars were going to market and bringing home the bacon, and they were developing Lexus and Acura and Infiniti and these other hallmark brands. I mean, what an era of car. And so it is kind of fun to look back and see that, and what's interesting too is, there's 5 Hondas. There are no other Japanese manufacturers on this list. There's no Toyota, there's no Mazda, there's no Mitsubishi, and there's no Nissan. And these were manufacturers that were making some really crazy, impressive stuff at the time too. So that goes to show you just how it's either car and driver got bought off by the good people at Honda, which I'm not saying is not possible. But they picked them as a manufacturer from Japan to put all their eggs in that basket, and for good reason.
Yeah, I stand behind their choices full-heartedly. Is anything going to change for 89, my man? You want to pull us through that list?
Well, let's do that. One thing I do want to tag real quick, if because we're looking a lot of this data off of the Car and Driver website specifically, but if you're on the Wikipedia page, there's a quick blurb at the bottom of each of these, and I want to read it real quick because each year it'll show the fastest car that they tested, along with the top 3 selling cars. 88, fastest car tested, 173 miles per hour. Is your Ferrari Testarossa. And the top selling cars, Ford Escort. You tried to say Escargot, not the Nissan Pike Factory Escargot. That would be great. So the Ford Escort, the Chevy Corsica / Beretta, depending on how many doors you got.
Represent first car.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And the Ford Taurus, which was on that list, and was in the list, I think, for 87 as well.
And in RoboCop.
And in RoboCop, in poorly disguised guys. 1988. You got any standout memories personally?
About
1988.
Good Lord. I was 8, so not too many. Like mostly scars, emotional scars that I don't want to get into.
Emotional scars. Yeah. Got opted in to get circumcised for some reason at age 8.
I grew back.
Also, by the way, 1989, just as 1988, they put a $35,000 price cap.
It makes sense. It really makes sense.
And it does evolve. So we'll probably shout that out as we get to it. But same price cap, $35,000 or better. 1989, there's some overlap here, but there's some new faces. Acura Legend Coupe. I don't know why they're down on the sedan. The sedans are lovely, but the Acura Legend Coupe is still great. Chevy Corvette. Dodge Colt Turbo, which is great. Ford Probe GT, Ford Taurus, back again. Civic, back again. Accord, back again. The 1989 Lincoln Continental, minor head scratcher. Mitsubishi Mirage Turbo, and the Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo, along with the Plymouth Laser Turbo, which is pretty much an Eclipse. Saab 9000 Turbo. That's the list for 1989. Any of those jump out at you?
So, my friend, like you said last time, calling out the Honda domination, can we just say they poured one out to Mitsubishi turbo powered cars in this one? Because there are some names, some different manufacturer names, but there are 4 Mitsubishi turbo cars on this list, my friend. Those being the Dodge Colt Turbo, the Mitsubishi Mirage Turbo, the Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo, and the Plymouth Laser Turbo, all Mitsubishi products, all turbo, all the time.
All turbo. And for those counting at home, you might notice that, wait, aren't a couple of those cars the same car? And wait, isn't that a list of 12? Yes, I double checked. I went back and counted. They actually did 12. I don't know why they would not have just done the slash.
Probably because, they probably because they were slightly different and they probably wanted to give props to the makes. But it's so funny that instead of just calling out like the main, like you think Eclipse, right, is the main one. So you'd call that out, but they had to put the laser in there, right?
But then they shafted. Well, I guess, you know what? I guess that's right. In 89, there was no Talon. When did that show up? 90, was it 91? Did
90,
they slow roll that?
I think it's 91 model year.
Okay. So they drug their feet there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as I just said, that they were giving the middle finger to some other Japanese manufacturers, and then they're like, all right, let's right the ship here a little bit, and give some of these Japanese manufacturers some love. But what's funny is that Ford Probe GT, there was no slash extra bonus love for the MX6, right? The Mazda MX6. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of the list other than,
well, that was also a turbo. So they really like turbos in 1989.
They did. And what's interesting is, like, if you were to say, describe to me a turbocharged car from 1989, what would be your chief attribute that you would give that car?
No action below 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, and then you get some kick in your butt.
Yeah, some deep. Maybe it was a novelty then, like today, like the novelty is
fun. I still think it's
EVs. Cool. I do too.
Yeah, it's
but
dramatic.
Then they went to, and still now, like turbo lag is not a feature. Unless you're like us and just like the novelty of old school turbo lag. But maybe the instant thrust of EV right now is in vogue, and maybe one day that will be, I don't know, out of vogue. I don't see how.
How the hell did Continental make this list, my friend? It's an odd company. If you just look at like a snapshot of these cars lined up, and the Continental pulls in
one
last,
of these things is not like the other.
Sir, the Golden Corral is down the street.
Right. I mean, it's not like it was this, like, I mean, you kind of look at all of these vehicles, right? And they're all, I don't know, they're all like fresh and very, very new. And it's like,
they are. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, we've got the GM 3.8 still, and it's back again. And like,
great motor though.
Oh, it is. I don't know.
Yeah, that car stands out.
It stands out in a way that I don't know. I don't want to call it a complete loser, because that motor's good, and it was pretty. That was a redesigned vehicle, so it's not like it just was completely out of nowhere. But I don't know. If you got to pick one of those first gen DSM cars, would you take an Eclipse? Would you take a Laser, or would you take a Talon?
That's a tough one, right? Because it's going to be front wheel drive with the laser. They never made the Laser all wheel drive, correct? So
I believe so. Yeah, it was the RS Turbo, I think they called it, right?
Yeah, and it was the same as like the Eclipse GST through its life. I kind of want the Laser because I'm a weirdo.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do.
They're
too.
super roundy too. Like where the Eclipse had a lot more like angles and things going on. The Laser was super smooth, always. Yeah. And it had like a facelift too, if I remember correctly. But I don't know, dude. I'm kind of a fan of the Dodge Colt Turbo.
Yeah. I mean, that's
kind of cool.
That's interesting. Would you take it over the Mirage?
Well, that's kind of like me with the Stealth and 3000 GT. I kind of lean towards the Dodge on that one.
Yeah, didn't they make like a Laser that had like, it was like a special edition where it had like gold wheels and like some gold like pinstriping or something like that? Or is that not a thing?
I'm sure they did. Remember though, there was another Laser before that was based on like the Daytona.
Yeah, it was like a Daytona, and I think it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, then they had it was like a LeBaron Daytona mashup.
So weird.
It was not good. Yeah, it was.
I mean, I still like it because I love that stupid shit, but
sure. Yeah, so it's. I think I'm right there with you. I think I would go Laser RS Turbo. And I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember if they. My gut tells me that they did not make an all-wheel drive, which probably means they did, and I'm wrong. Um,
I don't think they did.
any other? It's funny. A lot of this stuff is still the carryover, except for really the. I mean, the Probe. That Probe GT is an
Probe
interesting
GT.
car.
You got
Also
the Colt.
turbocharged.
You got the Colt Mirage on the list.
Yep.
And then obviously the Lincoln. We talked about that ad nauseum, but I'll fill us in for the fastest car to tag onto the end of your list here.
Yeah.
750 IL with a V12, 158 miles per hour.
That's not bad. You do like, I just imagine that thing hitting a deer at 158, because that deer would be in for everyone would be in for a rough ride.
What
But
do,
the
what do you
deer,
think? What do you think the fuel economy of that car is at 150? It's got to be like 4 miles per gallon.
probably, but
Right
honestly,
around
it's
there.
probably better than
Mm.
a lot of other cars. Because I mean, that's kind of what that car was built for, right?
Yeah,
Was
but
like the executive
but compared to the
powering down the
Testarossa,
Autobahn.
this thing's moving a lot of sheet metal.
A lot of sheet metal. Testarossa is a lot slipperier.
Yeah.
Slipperier. It's slithery.
How that sounds worse.
Slipperier.
Shall I
But
bring
yeah,
us
it's
into the 90s, dude?
you should. And just what's interesting is just a real quick on the 89. If you remember back to 1988, all three of the top selling cars were Ford or Chevy. You had the Escort, the Corsica Beretta, and the Torres. 1989, number one, Honda Accord. So it went from like not even in the running, and it's all the same generation car, to the very next year it was number one top selling car in America, which is pretty special. It was 91. So number one was Accord, number two Ford Taurus, number three Escort. Suck it, Corsica. What about tell me about 1990.
1990. So growing up, obviously I was a young lad in 1990. I was born in 1980, so hit my 10-year mark. I do remember a commercial. Do you guys did you guys have Rental Zone out here? One of those places where you could rent TVs and stuff.
Oh God, like there's a rent a center.
Like rent a center. So they used to go, their jingle was step into the 90s, step into the rental zone. Doo-doo-doo. And that was, so clearly it was probably in 1990, hopefully not in 95, because that's way too late to step into the 90s. But we've got our list here. Price cap still in place, 35K. 1990, this is your car and driver top 10 list. Acura Legend Coupe, Eagle Talon Turbo.
There it is.
Ford
1990,
Taurus.
not 91.
Yep, came a little earlier. Ford Taurus, Honda Civic, Honda Accord, Lexus LS, Mazda MPV, yes, Mazda MX-5 Miata, Mercury Sable, get on there, Taurus friend, Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo, Nissan Maxima SE, Nissan 300ZX Turbo of the twin variety, and Plymouth Laser Turbo. So obviously, again, calling out multiple makes, but dude, we got some cool cars for 1990, man.
This might be out of all of the car like lists that we've done, including the prior episode, this might be my favorite year thus far. I mean, what a lineup.
Yeah.
The original Lexus LS is an all-time important car. The Z32, all-time important car. I know people overlook it a little bit because of the other.
It's catching up. Yeah, it's
right.
Still an icon.
But as compared to like the other Godzilla cars, right? People overlook it a little bit. But this was the first one to market. This was the one that helped set that table. That Maxima SE was a fabulous car.
Ooh, those are nice.
Miata is always the answer. That's another
first model year
extreme important car.
Yep.
Is that MX-5. Accord, Civic still there, Legend Coupe still there. They're still hating on the sedan. The Diamond Star cars, right? Those are still sitting there. I don't want to talk about the Taurus or Mercury. They're fine. You have to have one, and that was an important car. But you look at the rest of this lineup and the Mazda MPV, which I don't know. I want an MPV.
Oh, I do too, man. It's so
bad. I want MPV to be my MVP.
Big call out for me is probably the biggest one, the Miata. I mean, what an absolutely revolutionary car. You know what, man? Lexus LS, same level. Because that was the introduction for Lexus. That is their first car, their first model year. I think the ES came out. Did the ES come out the next year, 91?
I think it did. It was, if it wasn't, it might have been a half year.
Yeah, because they were really close. That was their two-prong approach, because the LS was kind of pricey, but more boy,
Yes.
and they built those at a loss. So
Mhm.
that was Lexus' first shot. The Miata, what a crazy, no one's seen a car like that. Like, it's a British roadster with Japanese reliability and
Yeah.
affordable.
Designed in California.
Yes.
Like
We look at these lists and guess which one's still like dominating its segment. The Miatas never went away.
it's not, what's
Except for
actually
1998. 1998, there were no Miatas.
that's like
Fun
telling people
fact.
you've got an 83 Corvette.
Yeah.
Um
Oh,
what's
Frank, you just
yes.
killed it. Corvette, not on the list. You know why?
Oh,
300ZX twin turbo, baby.
that's it. Yeah,
I think that's
and
it.
I've got a sneaking suspicion the Corvette will be back, much like
I agree.
the Raiders. They'll be back, but like,
Mm.
what a I just what's funny is yes, the Miata and the LS are two like standard bearers, segment redefiners, and they could not be two opposite automobiles, like cars, right?
What a good two-car solution, though.
Oh, it's the perfect two-car solution.
Oof.
And yeah, it's just and what's pretty crazy is both of those cars have pretty well stood by their ethos. I would argue that the Miata is less changed over time.
Sure. Yeah.
Other than like I don't know, a modern Miata versus almost anything in 1990 is probably about as fast as everything, when a Miata back then was relatively pedestrian as far as outright speed. But like a Miata is still like the lightweight, handling, affordable, everyman sports car.
Yep.
In a world where there are none of those, in any roadster or not. Like, so I mean, kind of you tip the hat to the Miata, but what a good list. Because even like Civic and Accord, right? Those were both new for 90, I think, right? Or was it 89 on the Civic? I know the Accord was fresh for 90.
That's a tough. I don't know exactly the model year. I want it because 92 was the first of the EG Civics, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
So I think maybe it was 88 on the Civic.
Yep.
And then maybe 90. Did 90 gain the SI trim?
Ooh, no,
I want to say there's something special about.
There's an 89 SI, I believe.
I don't know. I want to say there's something special.
SI.
Yeah, get the. I better get it EF and right. EF, yeah. Quick shout out to the Maxima SE.
Good car.
What a good car. And that's a I want to say we mentioned that in cars that don't exist anymore, that you used to see all the time.
Don't exist.
I want one.
There's
white
one
face
on
gauges.
I got one pinned on Marketplace right now. The dash is shredded and it looks a little iffy. Someone painted the wheels black, which is already my first red flag. But it's on there, and I haven't. That's literally the only one I've seen in the past probably 5 years for sale.
Yeah. What a. I remember when I was working at Progressive, I had to total one out. It was a black on black 5-speed with like 100,000 miles on it. And I was like, man, I feel really bad about this. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to not total. I think I actually almost totaled it. I got it within $100 of not totaling it. Nice. I'm like, I don't want to total this car because I know this is the car to have in this. So I'm going to underwrite this estimate a little bit. Just know if you take it to a shop to repair it and you tell them it's going through insurance, it will get totaled. So don't do that if you value this car. He's like, oh, I love this thing. Like, cool. Me too. So I think we were able to kind of technically save it. But good list, good cars. Fastest car for this year, 1990, tested Corvette ZR1, the original ZR1, 175 miles per the hour.
God damn.
Oof, cooking.
That's going to stand for a little while, I reckon.
It might. I don't know. Will another Tesla Roadster get back involved? We'll see. Top selling cars: Honda Accord, Ford Taurus, Chevrolet Cavalier.
Again.
19 on the top. 1991. As we continue to travel through time, same amount.
Good amount.
We're looking at $35 cap.
35K.
New rule, though. They introduced a new rule because they were probably tired of Honda's dominance, it seems. No more than 2 places per mark. Right? Yeah. So you can't have 5 Hondas at once now. You can have 2.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
have 1.
2.
You can have none.
No dual marquees.
Mm-mm.
But you know what though? That kind of that skews the data because, like,
It
honestly, if a
does.
car deserved to make the list, it deserved to make the goddamn list.
Right. Although I suppose, a couple of Acuras, a couple of Hondas, a couple of Lexuses, a couple of Toyotas can all sneak in and everyone would be all right. But yeah, I agree. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know how I feel about that. Um, I'm just gonna rattle off the list. We've got the Eagle Talon Turbo, Ford Taurus, Honda Accord, Honda Civic, Mazda MPV, V6, guys, MX-5 is still there. A car after your own heart, my friend, the Mercury Tracer LTS.
Yes, sir. 1 year on the
Mercury's
list.
That's it.
One in my garage for a little
Put
while.
Mercury on your list. The Mercury Sable,
Mm.
the Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo, Sentra SER, Z32 300ZX Turbo, Toyota Previa, and the Laser. So the Diamond Star twins are still there. Tell us why did I chuckle and sneer and snicker and smile at the Tracer LTS? What's the
Yes,
rub on that thing?
Tracer LTS is a very obscure car. A lot of folks don't get it. The Tracer was a very small car based on the Protege, Mazda Protege, because its underpinnings were completely Mazda. The engine, the transmission, and it was based on the four-door Escort. And it also had the 1.8 liter Mazda BP engine. So that dual overhead cam 4-cylinder, making 127 horsepower at the time. And this is kind of weird that I know this much because I owned a Tracer LTS. I kind of love these performance rare ship boxes. But yeah, that same engine.
It's like a shiny Pokemon.
Yeah, they got the BP, which is the 1.8. The 1.6 technically isn't a BP engine. So the 1.8 BP was in these cars before it ever made it to Miata. The Miata model year 1994 was the first year you could get that engine. So these ship boxes were trying it out first, and it's a magical engine. It's a great little power plant. And these cars move, and God, I love me some Tracer LTS.
I mean, you're right. Those are excellent engines. When did they finally kill off the BP? Was it when they killed off the Protege and they went to the Mazda 3, or did it survive in something else longer?
I don't know for other markets here in the States. You could get one in the Miata all the way up until like the NC. So the BP or the NBs kept using them. So that's like into the mid 2000s. You could still get a BP 1.8 in a Miata.
Yeah, those were good. Those were hardy engines, hard to break.
Great motor.
Make reasonably sounding 4-cylinder. Not what you would expect coming out of a Mercury Tracer.
Wild, right? And the 5-speed gearbox from a Mazda. So, I mean,
a
sneaky little car.
I mean, Ford was one to put Mazda 5 speeds and stuff, right? Because I think the Ford Ranger was that gearbox was a Mazda 5-speed. The early SHOs were famously a Mazda 5-speed.
That's correct.
That they co-opted from Mazda. So
great motor. We're skipping another obvious motor, the SCR sporting the SR20. 2-liter high revving 7,700 RPM, timing chain driven, reliable timing chain driven dual overhead cam engine with 140 ponies. That's a magical motor.
If we were going to make a motor Mount Rushmore podcast, like for the pod, like podcast specific, right? Like Quad 4 is on there, right? That might take the Washington spot.
Yeah.
That might take the Washington spot. We've got probably the SR20 is probably on that.
100%.
As far as our favorites, do we want? I feel like we would be able to go all 4 cylinders if we wanted to. I don't know if we want to though.
We need a 4G63. That goes without saying. Turbo.
Right. But then we've only got one more spot. Like, is a V8, a V6, inline 6? I don't know.
Ooh,
Mazda BP. It could be all 4 cylinders, which would be bananas.
3800 V6 GM. I really like that.
That's a good one. I don't know. That's probably a task for another day. The Mount Rushmore edition.
I honestly would say the SR20 is my favorite Nissan motor in all its it has a high revving Neo VVL variant. It has a turbocharged variant, which we didn't get in the States legally. But the SR20, I do like that motor better than I know there's a lot of RB folks out there, but we weren't really RB recipients here in the States. So I think there's a lot of worship there, but I think as an engine I want in a car and easy to work on and super reliable, I think the SR20 is it, man.
And I've personally never been an RB recipient. I've never eaten at Arby's. I've never done it. I know they have the meats, but
They have.
I've never been to an Arby's.
Can I
ever.
tell you, like out of the blue, I hadn't been to one for like 15 years. And I stopped at an Arby's because they had a pork belly sandwich. And I'm like, how horrible can this be? And I got it, and it looked exactly like the advertisement.
Was it
Like the bun
good?
was amazing. It was like pork belly, good bun with good sauce in there. Dude, and it like they toasted the bun, it looked just like the ad.
So
shocking. I was like, okay, fuck this. This is real.
So I'm gonna set the over under at 4.5, and that's number of inches that you instantly prolapsed your anus after eating that, and chocolate shotgunning it out of your backside. Was it the over or the under on the?
I mean, I live in a constant state of prolapse with my asshole, so it's like it's kind of like the secondary Jaws in the Aliens movies, that shoot out and go through your brain.
Exactly, yeah, equally as violent and insatiable.
Absolutely.
All right, so maybe who knows? Maybe one day I will try an Arby's and put that
meat
personal situation to the test. Yeah.
Wonderful.
What's interesting is like, talking about our Mount Rushmore engines on this 10 best list. 4G63's on here.
Yes.
Lots of BP's on there. Yes. SR20's on there. Just in this one single 1991 year of car. I mean, I've got a soft spot for motors that like will just allow you to effortlessly just absolutely wail on them all day long, and they don't seem to care. Certainly the Mazda BP and the SR20 are in that camp. The 4G63s tend to be seen as a little bit more fragile, but really it's really just a timing belt situation. As long as you do what you can to look after them, and even that's not a guarantee, like you'll probably be in good shape.
Sure, and like unqualified modifications probably your leading cause of terminal illness for 4G63s.
Absolutely.
In stock guys, on top of your maintenance, doing your timing belt like you said, water pump,
PCV,
and the tensioner, and your fluids. I think a 4G63 is pretty stout. It's
how dare people actually maintain their vehicles?
Good Lord. Yeah. And then not complain about it. All right. Last year, we got to buzz through this one quick. 1992 price cap is now increased to 40,000. We call that inflation in 92. Here is your car and driver top 10 list for 1992.
Give it
BMW 3 Series, and it calls out the 325i. The Cadillac Seville. So another random luxury car making the list. Eagle Talon all-wheel drive turbo. There it is. Boom. Again, Ford Taurus show, the show getting called out for the first time. Honda Prelude SI, we love that. Lexus SC400, hi there. Miata back again. Eclipse all-wheel drive turbo, that is the Talon Twin. Sentra SER still tearing it up. Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. Plymouth Laser all-wheel drive turbo, and Toyota Camry V6, which is, I'm shocked, doesn't show up as much as it should in the pantheon of cars that will not die. Frank, what stands out to you in 1992? What would you like to chat about?
Well, I mean, there's two that stand out, and for wildly different reasons. That's the first two that you rattled off: the 3 Series and the Seville. The thing with the Seville is, like, you think back and go, okay, well, like the North Star that showed up, and nobody knew it was a pile of garbage in a boat anchor yet, and that they were blowing up, and that was like making big power, so that had to have been it, right? But it's like no, like they didn't even get the North Star till 93. It still had like the carryover, like I think it was the 4.9 high, not high feature, I think just like called the high tech 4.9, which was like not a bad engine. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't new, so I don't know. They just smoothed out the lines and decided they had a winner. I don't know. That's a little bit of an outlier.
Yeah.
However, what isn't an outlier is that E36. If you look at how big of a development jump the E30 to E36 was, like in period, right? We've got a soft spot for the E30 from the one that we spit roasted. But that E36 was a huge leap forward, and that 325, because when it came out in 92, you had only the 318 and the 325, and that was the lineup here stateside. Killer car, really cool. They also didn't know that the interior self-destructed and self-recycled, so just the perception of the upgrade there, kind of on every part of that car, was pretty significant.
Yep.
What jumps out to you, man?
Normal, Illinois in the house, the DSM triplets are showing up strong. That's a good shout out. These things were selling like crazy. Performance wise, they kind of punched way above their weight. Like,
yeah,
right from the get-go, right? Like when these things came out, for the price you paid for one of these cars, you were getting an all-wheel drive turbocharged machine that could hang with, God, you go back 5 years, these things would have slayed everything, right? So
for sure.
mean, absolutely monsters. So it's good seeing all of those guys getting mentioned. Shout out to the Prelude SI though.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yep. That was
Love
that
it.
refresh 4th-gen Prelude,
Yep.
which I've got a soft spot for. I really enjoy the interiors of those. They get that really wide kind of Geordie LaForge glasses
So cool.
interior, with the long sweeping digital dash and everything. SC 400 showing up. They decided to swap out the LS for the SC, which is a cool call out. Really cool car. I'm surprised. They're hard to find perfect ones, but they are out there.
Yeah.
And you can find an incredibly nice one for like the high teens and like with low mileage, which I kind of feel like they should be more, if I'm being honest, with the build quality, the reliability, even the performance, which it's not incredible, but it's nice. It's just a nice place to spend time. And
yeah, that 4-liter V8 it's a real peach. The SC300 could be had with a manual, which gives it a slight edge in my opinion. That's kind of a legendary engine in that one too. But fastest car tested, buddy, Ferrari F40. So we're getting into some serious speed. That's 197 miles per hour was the speed on that one.
That's
top
cooking.
selling cars, Ford Taurus. Weird. Jumped across the Accord right there. We had a Accord all in a row there. And then Toyota Camry.
And quick shout out to that 92 Camry, because that was on this list.
Yep.
And that was the, what is it? The third gen Camry. And talk about another car that kind of redefined
great car,
the market, right? That third gen, you can get the coupe, you can get the sedan, you can get a wagon. It's the only time you can get those three in the Camry lineup. And just that's a car that you still see on the road. We talked about cars that you don't see on the road anymore. I see those Camrys all the time, even more than Accords, even more than Civics, even more than, Corollas or other
number
Toyotas.
one selling car in 1992. You don't see it.
No, but I probably every other day I'll see a 92 to 96. Is it Camry?
Yeah, because in 97 it went to the 4th gen, right? Which
97 or 98. I think it's 97. Yeah,
I'm really impartial to that one. Something about that one. I don't know what it is.
If
and
I
it was
can get
dead
that
nuts
third
reliable.
gen, if I can get that third gen V6
nuts.
in a coupe with a manual,
true. Okay,
put me down for one, Doc. But yeah, just a cool year and an interesting difference, like just to see. 1988 was completely and utterly dominated by Honda. Everyone was playing catch up. And then by the time we get to 1992, a lot of people caught up. You've got Miata, you've got Lexus is there. You still have the Honda, but now they've a Prelude. Nissan is hitting hard with the Sentra and the 300ZX. The Camry is there. BMW is on the list, right? The new 3 Series is winning people over. Cadillac, they exist. And so, I don't know. It's kind of always interesting to go like how much will change over 5 years.
What a fantastic time frame, 5 years, because dude, we got our DSMs, we got our amazing Japanese cars like showing up, like real sports cars, the 300ZX twin turbo first on that list.
Yep.
So this is such a pivotal moment for like these Japanese sports cars. Like they're not Econo boxes anymore. And even the Econo boxes they're throwing out are making the top 10 list because they're badass and reliable and super fuel economy minded and well built.
And they're good to drive.
Yeah.
They went from, for a long time earlier to this period, an economy car was a genuine penalty box, especially anything out of GM. Any GM economy car has been absolutely disastrously dreadful, kind of up until this era. And the ones that weren't were rebadged Japanese offerings. So really kind of interesting. What's funny is the next year, which we're not going to get into is 93. And if I had to try and be predictive and predict what I think the best year of the 80, certainly of the 90s, but even the 80s through 90s would be, I would say probably 93. I don't know. I haven't gone through. I haven't skipped ahead. I'm not going to look, but 93. There's just so many pivotal, important, special cars that their genesis was in 93. We will have to see.
Yeah,
Tune in
absolutely.
again.
That was super fun. Good list. I think it's a time to get a little quizzical, and I think I'm the quiz victim on this one.
Quizzical. Yeah. I am going to snoop around real quick. I should be just a hop, skip, and a jump to pull up the advertisement. What's that all about? Will you tell the people while I pull it up?
Guys, it's time for our well-suited named game of what do we call it? Automotive print ad quiz game show.
That's the one.
It. That's the one. Guys, this is a game where one of us reads a print ad about a car from the 80s, 90s to the mid 2000s. All fair game. This had to be a real print ad in a magazine, periodical, newspaper, microfiche, however you may have it.
Mm-hmm.
This time, Frank's going to read us the ad. He's going to omit anything that gives it away because this is a game, guys. This is a challenging game at times. So I have 3 guesses to figure out what car he's talking about. Every time I fail, he will bring me up to speed with a super helpful hint or not. And then we'll eventually get there or burn in a horrible Pinto fire trying to get there. Too soon for Pinto. Frank, I am completely not ready, but let's go. Okay. 10 minutes on the clock when he finishes.
There's going to be 10 minutes.
So we don't just go, you don't hear me going, for 30 minutes. I think some of our early iterations are like that. Lay it on me, man.
Go back and listen to them just for fun. Yeah. So what I have for us and you today, 2-pager. It's a car. It's motion blurred. It's coming around a corner, right at the camera. It's pretty close up, wide angle, a little bit of like an up Dutch angle situation here.
It's a sex position, right?
Not quite. I not one I'm. Maybe I've got some studying to do. I don't know. I will consult a Kama Sutra near me.
Dutch Bros.
Not only exactly there's a Dutch Bros with walking distance at my house. They're okay. In addition to that, you also see they have like the hood and front bumper are semi-transparent, and you can see through them and see like some highlighted components in the engine bay.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah.
And then at the top it says, "Make it right, then make it even better." Blanks are such a blast to modify. We did it ourselves. Check out the blank. The first in a line of factory engineered blank models, featuring a fully developed quick boost turbocharging system co-engineered with Callaway cars, featuring a high-tech Garrett T25 ball bearing turbocharger and a factory air-to-air intercooler. Beefed up drive components, including competition-ready clutch, beefy 24mm drive shafts, plus a torque sensing Togichi Fuji limited slip. I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced. Just roll with it.
Sounds good. I think that was the tofu shop from Initial D, but go on.
It could be. Yeah. It's there's something there.
Fujiwara.
It's Toge approved. Lowered and tricked out Racing Beat developed suspension with tuned Tokikos backing up oversized Eurospec disc and extra sticky 17-inch RE040s on purpose-built blank Racing Heart rims. A total of over 1,000 mods from the engine bay strut brace to Sperco pedals and a thumping 450-watt Kenwood music system. A complete and balanced package. Learn more about blank and how every blank has the soul of a sports car at Redacted. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, there's just a little like, I don't know, crop of an image with a logo of the brand name, the mark. Okay. And underneath it says blank logo as seen on the Racing Beat blank, on its way to a new Bonneville Class C record 238.44 miles per hour.
Oh, okay, good.
Which is not at all close to the actual top speed of the car I just described to you. That's it, my friend.
It's all I need, my friend, because this is in my wheelhouse. I've wanted to buy one of these for a long time.
That confident are we?
100% sure on this one. Not gonna lie.
Oh boy.
This
Okay.
car came for sale with all the tuner parts already on it, which was absolutely wild at the time. They were catering to that Fast and Furious crowd. And when you see one of these cars, it looks like it's been tuned. It looks like it's been modified, but it's not. That's how they came. This car, Frank, was notable the prior year because of its sound system, and it was named after that sound system. But this is not that car. This indeed is the 2005 Mazda Speed Protege. Final answer.
So close.
It's an 04.
2003. 2003.
Oh, gotcha. Everyone I see is an 05, but yeah.
So this is the 2003 Mazda Speed Protege, the first in a line of factory engineered Mazda Speed models. So this was the launch point of Mazda Speed. Was this car, and then second to that was going to be the Mazda Speed Miata. I agree. Very cool cars. I have no clue what the production number on these are.
Pretty low. It didn't say the horsepower in the ad, did it?
It does not.
So
no.
these made 160 horsepower, which is pretty good. The Mazda Speed Miata came out in 2004. That made 176, something like that. So a bit more out of that 1.8. But these were so cool. What really gives it away, if you guys didn't know exactly what the car was, Racing Beat is one of my favorite Mazda parts makers. They make parts for all Mazdas. Mostly I use them for Miata stuff, but they do a lot of rotary stuff, and they do a lot of stuff, rotary stuff. So they make a lot of cool custom part, really good quality. They're in California as well. I think they're down south. So they make some good stuff. But yeah, they did a lot of good stuff for this car. God, it's cool, man. But these, I don't think they were super happy to be modded, these engines, because they were kind of tuned to their threshold. And I know a lot of folks tried to up the boost like you could with, like, say, a DSM or something.
Sure.
It wasn't good for that.
I don't know. What's fun is, like, just reading the ad, you can tell it was like an early 2000s product. Like, it's got the thumping stereo. Yeah, in that bright, like, metallic orange color.
Oh, it's a good color.
Beefed up driveline components. Lowered and tricked out. Just dropping. It doesn't even say struts. It just says suspension tuned Tokikos. Like, if you were in that era and you were into modding like Japanese cars, Tokikos was a thing. I had Tokikos on my Mark II Supra, like in about 2003. And it was just the way this ad is worded and put together. It was a moment in time, and I was into modifying like Japanese cars then, but more like quote unquote tastefully, and the whole like super modded scene I wasn't a huge fan of. But in retrospect, I really miss it. It was such a snapshot in Fast and Furious time, and sport compact car, and hot import nights, and this car speaks to that, and the ad does too. So I liked it, and I wanted to read it.
Yeah, it's super cool. And all the aftermarket parts are already thrown on there for you. So you don't need to, go modify it, because it comes out pretty cool. It's got a cool little side mount, as you can see in your ad that you posted up here. So just a really cool car. And yeah, these are hard to find. And they had a deal with Racing Beat, because they did the wheels on the Mazda Speed Miata as well. So, or not Racing Beat, I'm sorry, the Racing Heart wheels, which is always confusing.
I have no idea when the last time I've seen one of these cars is.
I've seen a couple for sale and clicked on them. They're usually pretty roughed up. The interiors didn't hold too good. Oh, but you got my reference, right, to the Mazda Speed MP3 Protege. Yeah, it was just known for its sound system, and it had the kind of same body kit as this one. So don't be fooled when you see one of those.
Some of the same suspension stuff, right? Like, it was some of the same suspension stuff, and it didn't it get like a minor bump in power, like a 5 horsepower or 10 horsepower bump or something. Like it had like exhaust in an intake or something from the factory
because of the subwoofer.
That's right. Yep. Well, you had to offset all the weight from all the extra add-ons that was included on the MP3 model.
Yeah. Good ad, dude. That's a good car.
Well, good job. You just I thought it would you'd either be right on it, or it would be like, oh boy, like what's it going to be? And yeah, you just absolutely laid it up and in. Good job. Golf clap.
Thank you. Thank you. We should celebrate that victory with some PCP. I don't know if we have to abuse it. We can just use it and love it for what it
We,
is.
we can do that. And I'm going to go first because I want to parlay it from the Mazda speed.
Do it up. So yeah, Project Car Progress to clarify. Go ahead.
That is it. Yeah. And one day I will figure out what PCP actually stands for in a drug reference.
I hope not.
The I'm just gonna do it live.
Yeah, just again.
The so I went to the 49ers game this past Sunday.
Good.
And
Nice.
on the way there, my father-in-law was driving me and my brother and sister-in-law and him. And he's got I think it's like an 09 Accord, something like that. Driving in there, we got like halfway there, and oops, alternator spit the bit. Not the end of the world. AAA. Got it. They got that thing towed back to his house. We took an Uber from the side of 880, and made it to the game. Made it back. And on the way back, we ended up at my in-laws, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, I've got this old Mazda Protege 5 that I need to get rid of. You guys should just drive it back from here because we didn't have a ride because the car was gone. And then Frank, figure out, can you like get it sold for me?" I said, "Okay." So now I have yet another car at the house that needs to be sold. It's not mine, but it's another car. And so I've been kind of and I lent off the Lexus to my in-laws so they have something to drive while the Accord is getting fixed.
Nice.
They of course are in love with the Lexus because why would you not be in love with the Lexus?
Of course, yeah.
So I've been driving around in this little Mazda Protege. I forgot how good of a little car these are. And this one is kind of mildly clapped. It's a Protege 5, so it's like the little baby wagon. It's an automatic, 159,000 miles. But the steering is great on these cars.
Good car.
The suspension is taut and feels good, and it's sprightly. You know, it lives up to all the stuff that people talk about the Mazdas today.
That has the what year is it? The
It's an 03.
03.
So same as our advertisement here.
Yeah, 2-liter in it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's got the 2-liter. It's got the little like sport shifter in the automatic, so you can slap it and shift up and down.
A lot of those were
all
manual.
4 speeds.
Yeah, a lot of
them are, and a manual is just like if all of a sudden I was destitute and I had to sell all of my cars off and get like a beater but kind of fun daily, like a $2,000 Protege 5 with a manual, it's just such a good little car. For a long time it was my like car to recommend to people. No timing belts you got to worry about. They're just reliable. They're built well. They're fun little cars.
The big fog lights
usable.
reminded me of the Bug-Eye WRXs.
A little bit.
It's got a good look to it. Yeah, very good look to it.
And so, yeah, I mean, this is a little beater. She paid $1,500 for it like 2 years ago, and it's been fine. I can probably turn around and sell it for $2,500 today, even though it's a little tattered body wise, but good car. Do recommend.
Good cars. Yeah.
So yeah, as far as progress, not much. I've gained another car, even though it's not mine, and so I'm gonna have to rehouse it. So if you know someone that needs an inexpensive, $2,500 Mazda, I'm your Huckleberry. How about you, my friend?
So NX2K that you can see on my shoulder back in the shop.
Yep.
So I finished tightening all the suspension down, gave it away to a performance shop, a motorsports shop local to me. These guys are really cool. They set up like real race cars. So I did a lot of suspension work to the car, and I did coilovers, which I haven't fucked around in like 10, 15 years. So I wanted them set up properly so the car would be good, because there's lots of ways to set up it improperly. So they corner balanced, they went over the whole car, double checked everything, set the both the sway bars and the end links to the right settings so the car would handle perfectly. And dude, just on the short drive back from the shop, it is so dialed in. It's not abrasive over bumps. I've got it kind of set in the middle for height. They showed me the max height of my coilovers. I can literally go real rallying. It got like 2 inches of lift. So sick. That's kind of cool, right? That you could just lift it, do a quick adjustment, and have that much. I mean, that's fucking cool. And you can drop it so the oil pan hits the ground, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of adjustability, and it has the softness adjustability built in. So it's a good coilover system. But dude, unbelievably different, because this is a 180,000 mile car with all original suspension components. And it was all over the road when I drove it the last time. So Worth it. Worth every penny, man. I can't wait. Like I said, I was building it to be kind of a rally going car. So if there's another rally before I can get rid of it, what a shame. I'll have to take it on there. But
Yeah, well, I'm aiming to do the next Breakfast Club rally, which is, I think it's like December 9th or 10th.
okay. So
Um,
this car will
yeah.
not be finished by then. It won't be cosmetically sound, of course. But
You know what The Rock says about that?
right, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, the rocks on the rally doesn't matter either if you chip it up
That's
before,
true.
right?
That's exactly it.
So good car. I put the Falcon 200 treadwear tires on it. So combined with the suspension, this car is just like
Sticky
more.
icky.
Yeah, it's sticky, dude. And then with the SR20, just stock power levels, fantastic. That engine, I forgot how smooth that friggin' engine was, dude. You want to talk about smooth high revers? The SR20s, ooh, way different than anything else from that period.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
quite nice. Well, job. Well, good. Yeah, we'll have to reconvene, and maybe we can combine forces on that rally. I want to take the Galant. I want to take the Kid. Hopefully, weather will be decent, and
Nice.
yeah, that would be fun.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Welp.
Should we shut it down?
We should stop. We should drop. We should shut them down. Open up shop. That's what we should do.
Oh.
Oh, that's a rough rider.
I got blood on my dick because I fucked. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for joining us again, guys, for another episode of
On that note,
another Pointless Automotive Podcast. As always, thanks for tuning in for real. Feel free if you have the time. I know time is limited. It's one of the most expensive resources, if you will, to review this podcast. That helps us. Any kind of feedback, shoot it to us. We have an Instagram page, APA Podcast, and we would love to hear your comments. If you have any future ideas. Yeah, or ideas, because we're not that creative.
Yeah, we're running out, man.
Yeah, this well has been dry for years. But just hit us up with any ideas or what you guys want us to talk about on the show. You can follow along too at YouTube. We do post this every episode, so a visual component there, and I put some graphics in there, make it all fun. Everybody loves it. It takes way too long to edit, but it's a great place to check us out as well. But keep listening wherever you listen. Frank, where can the good people follow your endeavors?
Oh boy, usually wearing like a loincloth and creeping around on all fours into sewers like some sort of lost Schmeagol type type situation. Beyond that, I can also be found on there's Instagram, there's the YouTubes. That's usually where I can be tracked down. That's at the Photographer's Garage. What's your precious? Where can people find you, good sir?
Yeah, you can find me at an industrial eye wash station trying to get the image of Frank in a loincloth scattering around the sewers out of my mind. But you can find me at Auto Obsessive Garage for your, rescues, restorations, and reviews, mostly on YouTube, also on Instagram, same name. But again, guys, from the bottom of our hearts and the top of our farts, thank you. We love you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Toodaloo.